Welcome to Max Premieres. Netflix doesn't stop. So far this year, the platform has already dropped 15 new and returning series that have a little bit of everything. Epic fantasy, brutal crime, historical mystery, romance that actually hits hard, and horror that gives you no rest. In this video, we break down each one so you know exactly what's worth your time and which one you should put on tonight. But before we start the video, it would help me a lot if you took a moment to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your kind support. Number 15, Vladimir. Em leads an orderly life, almost too orderly. She has work, she has routine, she has everything supposedly needed to make a person functional. But beneath that calm surface, something burns. A dangerous fixation on Vladimir, a coworker whose charm promises exactly the kind of escape Em most needs and most fears wanting. As the boundary between fantasy and reality blurs, Em's attempts to make her desires real trigger consequences that are darkly comic and morally complicated. Friendships fracture without anyone seeing it coming. Marriages begin to wobble on foundations that seemed solid. The obsession keeps pushing Em toward a point where she has to confront what she's willing to sacrifice for a life she can't otherwise claim. If you enjoyed the morally ambiguous comedy of Fleabag or the obsessive tension of Killing Eve, Vladimir points in exactly that direction. A series that makes you uncomfortable while making you laugh, which is precisely how the best dark comedies should work. Compact, no filler, with a lead who is hard to like and impossible to stop following at the same time. Number 14. Furies. There are two ways out of the criminal world that has surrounded Lena for as long as she can remember: dying, trying, or finding someone who shows you an exit nobody else could see. When the Fury appears, an enigmatic and brutally efficient figure, Lena sees that second option for the first time. But joining her comes with a price that nobody fully explains. As loyalties shift and violence escalates beyond what Lena anticipated, she has to choose between survival and complicity in a system that crushes the weak without apology. It's an 8-episode action drama that examines with real depth the notion of identity, the bonds that form in extreme contexts, and the price of belonging somewhere when that place has blood on its hands. A crime series full of characters who are neither pure heroes nor textbook villains, but people trapped in situations that overwhelm them and who make decisions with incomplete information. If you're looking for action that doesn't sacrifice its characters for the sake of spectacle, Furies has exactly that combination that's so hard to find in the genre. Number 13. Death by Lightning. James A. Garfield was a charismatic congressman who ascended to the presidency amid the corruption of the Gilded Age. He had idealism to spare, convictions he defended fiercely, and the certainty that the system could work differently if someone truly set their mind to it. But those convictions collided head-on with the political machines surrounding him that had no interest in changing. On the other side is Charles Guiteau, an obsessed admirer who constructed in his mind a relationship with Garfield that never existed. The gap between what he believed he deserved and the reality that ignored him kept widening until he made a decision that shook an entire nation. A desperate act that shattered a presidency and forced the country to confront unchecked ambition, madness nobody saw coming, and the fragile cost of democracy. 4 episodes that reconstruct that historical moment with precision and performances that anchor every scene. If you enjoy compact political biographies like John Adams, Death by Lightning is serious historical television that proves it doesn't need to be long to be genuinely powerful. Number 12, House of Guinness. When Sir Benjamin Guinness dies, what he leaves behind is not just a brewing empire built over decades. He also leaves a poisoned legacy that his 4 adult children will have to decide how to handle. Arthur, Edward, Anne, and Benjamin are very different people with opposing visions of what to do with what they inherited and who they are as a family, now that the man who held them together is gone. Ambition and scandal collide from the first episode. Loyalties that seemed unconditional fracture under the pressure of money and expectations. Secrets buried for years surface at the most inconvenient possible moment. And each sibling ends up choosing between fortune, reputation, and what their conscience demands. It's a Victorian drama of power, grief, and possible redemption set against one of the most recognizable surnames in the world. For fans of character-driven period dramas in the style of The Crown or Downton Abbey, House of Guinness is exactly what they're looking for. A production that isn't afraid to explore the darkest sides of a family that built an empire while destroying itself from within. Number 11. Black Rabbit. Jake Fredrickson built something very few people can boast, a trendy New York restaurant that actually works, and that makes real money. But things from the past don't stay buried for long, and when his troubled brother Vince reappears after time away, the old debts and dangerous alliances Jake thought he'd buried come rushing back to the surface all at once. The double crosses start piling up one on top of another. Loyalties that seemed solid begin to crack with speed. The empire Jake built with so much effort starts to wobble on foundations that turn out to be far more fragile than they appeared. And the question the series never stops raising is whether Jake can separate what he built from what he used to be. If you enjoyed the family rot of Succession or the criminal escalation of Ozark, Black Rabbit delivers a gritty thriller with a New York nightlife aesthetic that is compact, stylish, and without a single filler scene. For viewers who crave morally complex drama with characters making terrible decisions for reasons you ultimately understand and can't quite dismiss. Number 10. Avatar: The Last Airbender. The world is divided into 4 nations at war: the Water Tribes, the Earth Kingdom, the Fire Nation, and the Air Nomads. Balance depended on the Avatar, the only being capable of mastering all 4 elements. When that Avatar disappeared, the Fire Nation seized the void and launched a war of conquest that has been going on for 100 years without stopping. Aang is a 12-year-old boy who wakes up from a century-long sleep and discovers the world he knew no longer exists. Alongside Katara, Sokka, and allies he meets along the way, he embarks on the journey of mastering all 4 elements before it's too late to stop the Fire Nation's advance. Netflix's live-action adaptation respects the spirit and mythology of the original anime with an ambitiously visual production that doesn't treat its audience as if it's only for children. If you enjoy the epic fantasy of The Witcher or the world-building of Shadow and Bone, this show delivers a heartfelt adventure that works for all audiences, and that with its 2nd season keeps improving on everything the first one established. Number 9. The Lincoln Lawyer. Mickey Haller is a defense attorney in Los Angeles, and he's good at what he does in a way that sometimes borders on uncomfortable. He has the charisma to convince almost any jury, the instinct to read his clients before they open their mouths, and the flexibility to move through the darkest corners of the legal system. After setbacks that left him out of the game, he rebuilds his career from an unusual place. He runs his entire practice from the back of his Lincoln Navigator. As he takes on high-profile cases, he battles corruption within the system, clients who hide critical information from him, and personal demons that won't quite let him go. The series adapts Michael Connelly's novels faithfully, with Manuel Garcia Rolfo carrying the weight of the role convincingly from the very first episode. If you enjoyed the calculated charm of Suits or the moral complexity of Better Call Saul, The Lincoln Lawyer offers a fresh legal thriller with a genuinely original twist, cases argued from the back seat of a car. 3 seasons in the catalog and it hasn't lost a single ounce of momentum. Number 8. His and Hers. Anna is a journalist haunted by her past who returns to her hometown to investigate a brutal murder that has everyone in shock. But going back also means confronting everything she left behind, the people still there, and the versions of herself she would rather not remember. On the other side is Detective Jack Harper, who has his own theories about the case and about Anna. Their perspectives clash from the start as the secrets of the crime unravel in the sweltering Atlanta heat. Truth and deception blur across 2 sides of the same story because someone is always lying and the camera shows you both versions without telling you which one to believe. For fans of sharp objects or the intensity of Mare of Easttown, His and Hers is exactly that kind of small-town psychological thriller where nothing is what it seems. Every character has something to hide, and the solution arrives when you least expect it from a direction you hadn't considered. One of the most solid mystery series of the year. Number 7. Department Q. Carl Merck was one of the country's best detectives, the kind who solves what others leave unanswered, until an attack during an operation left his partner in a wheelchair and another officer dead. Carl came out physically without major injuries, but he didn't come out the same on the inside. Back on duty after a trauma he hasn't finished processing, he's assigned to Department Q, a small cold case unit that most of the force considers irrelevant. But those files hide truths that someone with power had a strong interest in burying. As Carl and his team open them, angles of corruption and human darkness emerge that go far beyond what anyone expected to find. Across 9 episodes, the series blends psychological tension, mystery, and redemption in a crime thriller that never gives you a break. Carl's internal pressure and the pressure of the cases feed off each other constantly. If you enjoyed the intensity of Broadchurch or the depth of Mindhunter, Department Q is exactly your level of crime. A Scandinavian thriller that shines where many others fail. Number 6. The Night Agent. Peter Sutherland is a young FBI agent with the least glamorous job in the White House, sitting alone in a basement, watching a phone that in theory almost never rings. That line exists for maximum priority emergencies, the kind of call that only gets made when there's no other option. One night, the phone rings. On the other end is a desperate person asking for help. Within minutes, Peter goes from standing guard in a basement to being at the center of a conspiracy reaching the highest levels of government. He has to protect a civilian while uncovering who the traitors are among his own, and the list of people he can trust shrinks with every episode. The action is constant, betrayals pile up, and the tension never gives a second of rest. The Night Agent was an audience phenomenon on Netflix from the first episode, and with 3 seasons remains one of the most solid spy thrillers in the catalog. If you're looking for pure adrenaline with a conspiracy that branches in every direction, this is your show. Number 5. One Piece. Monkey D. Luffy has a dream that, to any reasonable observer, sounds like delusion. Become king of the pirates. He has no conventional combat powers and no crew, but he does have bulletproof optimism, a straw hat he protects like a sacred relic, and the ability to stretch his body in any direction thanks to a devil fruit he ate as a child. Together with the Straw Hat pirates he gathers along the way, he sails dangerous seas, faces rival captains with powers that defy logic, and dodges constant pursuit from the Navy. Every island brings a different story with its own emotional scale that grows with the series. Netflix's live-action adaptation executed what fans most feared they would ruin. It respected the soul of the best-selling manga in history. It's vibrant, emotionally resonant, and built with obsessive detail. If you enjoy pirate adventures in the style of Pirates of the Caribbean, but with deeper characters and a world that's genuinely constructed, One Piece is the most accomplished live-action manga adaptation that exists. Number 4. Bridgerton. In Regency-era London, the 8 Bridgerton siblings navigate the social season in search of love amid balls, scandals, and secrets that circulate uncontrolled among the most influential families. Queen Charlotte watches every move closely, while Lady Whistledown narrates with merciless wit everything high society would prefer to keep hidden. Each season focuses on a different sibling and their own love story, which gives Bridgerton a renewed freshness with every installment without losing the threads connecting the full universe. The blend of period drama with a modern approach to diversity and representation made it a phenomenon that broke viewing records on Netflix. If you enjoy period dramas with romance that genuinely hits hard and characters who are contradictory rather than simple, Bridgerton is exactly what you're looking for. With its 4th season, it remains one of the great streaming phenomena and the series that proved historical romance can conquer millions regardless of age or cultural context. Number 3. Monster. The Jeffrey Dahmer Story. Jeffrey Dahmer lived a life that from the outside drew nobody's attention. A quiet, solitary, ordinary-looking man in the suburbs of the American Midwest. But behind that facade were crimes that shocked the United States when they came to light, serial murders, desecration of bodies, and a series of acts that are still difficult to process even today. Ryan Murphy and Ian Brennan constructed this dramatization in a way that sets it apart from similar productions. The focus isn't on morbid fascination or on Dahmer as a charismatic protagonist, but on the victims. Who they were before crossing paths with him, how they lived, and how the system failed them in multiple opportunities to intervene. Evan Peters carries the weight of the role with a disturbing restraint that is exactly what the character demands. If the psychological depth of Mindhunter or the chilling dramatization of American Crime Story hooked you, this miniseries offers a different and more humanizing look at one of the most infamous criminals in American history. It's not easy entertainment. It's television that leaves something inside you. Number 2. Wednesday. Wednesday, Addams lands at Nevermore Academy after her unconventional methods cause problems once again at her previous school. What she expects is another environment she doesn't understand and has no interest in understanding. What she finds instead is a series of brutal murders with roots in her own family's dark past that nobody else seems willing to investigate. Armed with psychic visions that arrive without warning, a sense of humor as sharp as a scalpel, and fierce resistance to any form of emotional connection she considers weakness, Wednesday unravels conspiracies while the world around her insists on pushing her toward friendship and feelings. Jenna Ortega carries that balance with a precision that makes the character genuinely funny without ever losing her menace. Wednesday blends gothic mystery, supernatural intrigue, and dark humor in the way few series manage, in a way that feels both original and effortless at the same time. One of Netflix's best bets in years, with a second season that raises everything the first one established. The show that proved classics can be reinvented without betraying themselves. Number 1. The Witcher. Geralt of Rivia is a witcher, a monster hunter trained to be something not entirely human and that will never quite fit in anywhere. He roams the continent, confronting an uncomfortable truth the series never stops exploring. Humans tend to be more dangerous than the beasts he's supposed to hunt. Bound by destiny to sorceress Yennefer and Princess Cirilla, he faces wars, betrayals, and magic that tests his morality with every decision. Across 4 seasons, it built a dark fantasy universe with battles of sword and sorcery blended with political intrigue and character arcs that gain depth with every season. Henry Cavill gave Geralt a presence that became a reference point for the genre, a character who speaks little, feels deeply, and carries it all in silence. If you enjoyed Game of Thrones or Shadow and Bone, The Witcher is the first mandatory stop in Netflix's fantasy catalog. A franchise with all the genre's ingredients working at the same time. Complex worlds, contradictory characters, and that constant tension between the destiny nobody chose and the decisions they make anyway. And that's everything for this selection of the 15 best series Netflix has released so far this year. From the most epic fantasy to the most disturbing mystery, there's something here to binge tonight. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Let us know in the comments which series you've already seen and which one is still on your list. See you in the next video.